Hey everybody, it's Phil Struzula from Select Software Reviews, back with another HR Tech Award winner recipient. We're actually here with the nominating party. We've got Tom Hackwell, the CEO of Pinpoint. Tom, who are you guys nominating and why?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Phil. So we're nominating My Interview. They're a video interviewing provider. We're nominating them because we see a lot of video interviewing providers in the marketplace, and our clients have been asking for that for a long time. And we've been working with these guys for a couple of years now on a very tight-knit integration between our ATS offering and their video interviewing platform. And our clients love it. We're super proud to make recommendations for their solution, but also they've just been like an absolute dream to work with. I think they share our vision for like an open ecosystem in HR tech, and we've not just delivered an integration but like continually iterated on that over time, and they've made our product better, we've made their product better, and it's been great.
That's awesome. So you guys are a vendor, applicant tracking system. They're a vendor, video interview solution.
Mhm.
Can you walk us through the integration and sort of how like the conversation started, what sort of the first iteration of this integration was, and where you guys are today, and sort of that process?
Yeah, sure. So I think conversations started literally just because their team reached out and saw what we were doing. They're based outside of the US, as are we, and so like we play in a similar territory. Um, there was quite a lot of alignment on like brand and vision for product, right? Like the HR tech space has a lot of legacy vendors, it has a lot of cool new stuff, and we both try and fall into the latter camp. Um, they sort of felt like, I guess what I'd say to step back a second is that like I think a lot of people would consider video interviewing as like a feature of a broader like recruitment ecosystem. We don't, right? We think it's really important to get this right, and we think that it can be like a very complex product if executed well. And so a lot of ATSs have taken the view that they'll build video interviewing in as a feature. We felt like that's not the right approach. We would under deliver for our customers and for their candidates if we did that. And so we were really pleased that they reached out with a view to kind of integrating the two systems. And so we built out an initial integration that allowed mutual customers to essentially embed My Interview as a video interviewing solution into their candidate journey. And so with Pinpoint, obviously, we're a standard ATS solution. You have a candidate experience that people use to apply. You can displace that candidate experience with a video interviewing journey by integrating My Interview if you want to do so. Or you can introduce video interviewing later in the journey. So, for example, you might have a standard application process and then a first round screen that is entirely powered by video interviewing. And I think a lot of integrations in the sort of HR tech ecosystem are very much like handoffs, right? So there'll be a button in your ATS that you can press that then logs you into your other solution, and it's very sort of disparate. I think we've built the integration very tightly, and so you don't actually need to leave Pinpoint to see all of the benefits of My Interview's product, but their product is super well represented and it's branded, but the candidate experience is really solid and so on. And so at first it was like a very simple, you can put this in your hiring workflow and it will send out a video, and now it's a lot more complex. And My Interview have some great stuff around sentiment analysis and AI and things like that that will infer lots of useful data from a video interview, and that's embedded into Pinpoint and kind of a very cohesive experience now.
Cool. And I guess when you originally saw this HR Tech Awards that we were doing, you guys wanted to nominate them relative to, I'm sure you guys have done other integrations, and it's not to say that, those were, you know, worse partners or anything like that, but what made these guys worth nominating? What got you so excited about them, about the process, or, their product, or maybe their API, or whatever?
Yeah, sure. I think a few things, right? So one, obviously, and when we do work with other video interviewing solutions, some of which are great. I think we are proud to talk about their products because we think it's delivered so exceptionally well, right? And I think as an ATS, right, we kind of see the ATS as like the hub and spoke of recruitment, right? Like we want everything to run through the ATS, but we need to work with best in class vendors outside of the core recruiting module to make sure that we're delivering a fully rounded solution for our customers. And so people often come to us and ask for recommendations around what's the best X and what's the best Y. And without fail, My Interview is the recommendation. It's something we're proud to offer. We don't necessarily have a vendor in every category we can do that with. And so that was point one. I think point two, it's been such an easy integration experience. I think we have a big integration ecosystem with sort of almost 100 integrations and growing now. And some integration partners are an absolute dream to work with, and some politely are less so, right? And you have to go through 100 security audits and it takes 9 months and we have to pay them significant amounts of money and then they charge their customers for the integration. And the idea of an open ecosystem is lost on some vendors. I think my interview have been fantastic. Their documentation is solid, and the communication on both sides is exceptional. And what I mean by that is, with some of our partners, integration partners, we'll send them an email and it'll take us 4 weeks to get a meeting in the diary. Whereas with my interview, we have a shared Slack channel and our teams talk every day. And that has been invaluable because we can learn from their analytics, they can learn from ours, we can make each other's products better, but we're both there striving to create a better customer experience. And sadly, I don't feel like that's the case with every vendor we work with.
Hmm. That's awesome. So they have sort of a low friction way of working together, high communication, the ability to share data between you, or in the willingness to share data between your different organizations to make your product better. What about the actual technology, building out this integration? What was that process like? And I'm also kind of curious, like, was there a huge difference that you saw maybe in data, maybe in feedback from V1 to what it is today from a candidate experience perspective?
Sure, yeah. So I think the way that our clients have used the integration has kind of changed, right, in terms of answering your latter question. So, like, originally we had a view that video interviewing had its place in a larger hiring workflow, but couldn't necessarily displace core parts of what we did. And I think people started using the integration and we quickly realized that they wanted it to cover more of their candidate experience than it did at first, and the data that they were giving us supported that. We do customer interviews and understand and validate that, and so they've really helped us shape our product and give our clients more flexibility than we would have done if that line of communication didn't exist. I think lots of times that line of communication is very fragmented, as I say, and it's very technical or it's very commercial and there's no middle ground, whereas with them we've developed a relationship that allows us to just make both products much better. And I think, yeah, in terms of the technology, I guess to put it into context, like we had the conversation and explored each other's products and tried things out and so on. But like the whole integration took less than a month to scope, build, and deliver. And then the ongoing iteration and stuff has been fantastic. But some of our vendors and integration partners have taken north of a year to deliver, right? And so like that hopefully talks a little to the kind of cultural differences and the benefits of working with a partner that's kind of open about their system.
Yeah, that I think that timeline speaks volumes. Do you guys have any other sort of results, whether it's anecdotal from your customers or perhaps data driven from that came of this integration that's sort of helping your business?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't have like specific numbers to share, not because we're hiding them, just because I don't know that I've got anything super relevant to give to you. I guess what I would say is a big part of the role that we see ourselves as playing as an ATS vendor is like market education, and we work with lots of organizations for whom like they're not using Pinpoint just to digitize their process. They're working collaboratively with us to reevaluate their candidate journey and the way that they hire and how that process looks, what reporting they get out of it. And I guess we've developed enough of a relationship with my interview where we feel much more comfortable making recommendations around video interviewing and introducing data around the video interviewing process into both our sales cycle and our customer support cycle. So like we'll go in as a cooperative partner on many deals and refer customers to one another. And obviously there's commercial benefits, but kind of more importantly, again, we have relationships with vendors of all shapes and sizes, but there's very few that we feel intimate enough with to kind of make outward recommendations. And oftentimes we'll go in to meet with a prospect for an ATS deal and we're not the right fit, but perhaps my interview is the right fit and we'll make that recommendation and then step back and we feel like we can still add value to the ecosystem even though we're not selling anything or providing a service. Um, and so yeah, like no useful data, and I'm sorry about that, but like we want every touch point we have to be a positive one, and it's great when we can make recommendations even if we're not the right fit as a vendor.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. It's like rising tide lifts all ships sort of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
I know the admiration as well is mutual because I believe I actually heard about Pinpoint through the My Interview team originally, which
Sure, yeah.
is great to learn about your guys' solution. Has this informed at all like how you think about selecting or prioritizing integration partners beyond what you've already shared?
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, I think our integration strategy is sort of threefold, right? So first and foremost, we want an open API and we want an open ecosystem. We want to play nicely with everybody, and that's always there. I think at the same time, like the other two things are what proactively do we think is interesting and adds value to our customers and prospects? And then the other thing is we get a lot of inbound requests from existing customers and prospects that drive our integration strategy. So a lot of the partners that we work with are requested by our clients rather than things we're proactively going out to do.
Mhm.
I think what has been really interesting is I think the importance of being a friendly partner and a cooperative partner has really risen up in importance. And like what I mean by that is we've had some clients come to us that have said, "Can you integrate with X?" Because we use them already, and we go, "Sure," and we reach out, and we have our process, and we kind of are as proactive as possible. And some of those partners are quite standoffish or quite reluctant to move or integrate, or they don't have open documentation, or they want to put a paywall in front of us or the customer. And we've seen customers move. And they've gone, okay, well, if this is how you treat your partners, we're going to go and work with a partner that already works with Pinpoint because they offer the same service and clearly they're more progressive in their approach long term about products, right? And so I think what's been really interesting is we are super open and frankly we'd love to have an integration ecosystem of 1,000 vendors. um, but what's been interesting is just the sheer difference and range of response we get when we try and integrate with people, and the second order impact that's having on their own customers sometimes.
Yeah, it is really interesting, especially as we sort of move a little bit, I think, towards a world where there are so many good point solutions.
Hmm.
To your original idea or previous idea, you guys could build a video interviewing module,
Hmm.
but it's not going to be nearly as complete and excellent as something that a company focused on that can
Exactly.
actually deliver.
Hmm.
And so you guys as sort of like a central hub with a really integrated partner ecosystem can be a phenomenal vendor. And if you are on one of those legacy systems, you're sort of getting the shaft on the rest of your HR tech stack because
Absolutely.
that vendor is holding you back, and you might not even realize how much they're holding you back.
Well, the best one is when we see a lot of, so like we get a lot of people, for example, moving to us where they're currently using like a consolidated system, something that will do like a payroll and a benefits and an HRIS and a recruiting. And they'll come to us because they want a point solution in the recruitment sector. And they'll ask to integrate with their existing payroll vendor, and their payroll vendor won't integrate with us because they also offer recruitment and they see it as competitive with a point solution that they offer, right? And so the market is getting more and more fragmented, and I think you're completely right, right? Like people want platforms, not products. And I think we really are platform first, right? Like we play the game we're strong at, and we want to be best in class at the ATS space, and we feel like we are. Um, but we're not going to try and extend those tendrils out into competing with partners that are clearly going to deliver a better solution for the customer. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting. Like your guys' strategy is very much, hey, we're going to be open because we think we can be the best at a thing. And we can also be the best at allowing our customers to utilize all these other best in class solutions. Whereas other companies sort of have this like closed garden approach to their business where it's like, we've got them on payroll. Let's also sell them ATS, let's sell them HRIS, et cetera, and sort of like lock them into this ecosystem of more subpar tools. But we don't really care, and the customer is thinking, well, it's good enough. Of course, over the long term, I think we both know which of those strategies is going to prevail.
For sure, and I think like a lot of people will buy the single kind of behemoths solution that does all of the things that they need because of the convenience of one platform and having it all in one place and one login and data portability. And I guess my view is I recognize that convenience, but I think a proper platform play with good integrations done and supported well with good partners sees both the best of both worlds, right? You get like targeted teams with world-class point solutions, but the convenience that you used to have with one massive system is displaced by the convenience of a super portable system, and you can plug and play stuff as you want. And I think our view is it forces us to be competitive, right? Like we have to be the best at what we do. But it also means that if the industry shifts massively, we don't feel like we have to drop tools on our core products to go invest in something else. We find the best player in that space and we play nicely with them. Um, but as you say, not everybody shares that view, and I think people are quite protective of their ecosystem sometimes. And we recognize in my interview, I think someone who shares our view there.
Yeah, for sure. It's sort of like the Clay Christensen, innovator's dilemma sort of thing,
Mhm.
right? Like you've got
Yep.
this huge cash cow and why rock the boat almost. Well, I think there's some really good insights in there for folks who are in the HR tech vendor ecosystem, the partner folks trying to understand their strategies, what makes a good partner from a, I want to be a partner or I'm partnering perspective. I think there's also some interesting insights there for how this landscape is changing. And from a practitioner standpoint, who do I want to align myself with? What sort of vendors, what sort of ethos, especially when it comes to these partner relationships? Because to your point, like I want to use more likely than not the best XYZ solution. I don't want to be locked into a terrible module just because I've kind of bought this lazy suite that kind of does everything at a C plus, B minus sort of level.
For sure. Yeah.
So thanks a lot for sharing this, these insights. Congrats to my interview. I think this is a great model for what a successful partnership looks like. I love the Slack channel, the sharing of data. And thanks again, Tom, for sharing the story.
No worries. Thanks for inviting me to talk about it. All the best.